Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to day number 2 of KITZUR HILCHOS Shabbos. We're in the Akdam, the introduction. Today is another hashkafik, another idea about the glory of Shabbos, and then we get into the halachas starting tomorrow, be'ez Hashem. Chazal tell us, Ilmala Yisrael mishamim shtei Shabbosais miyad heim nigolim. If Klal Yisrael, all the Jewish people, all together collectively would keep 2 Shabbosim in a row, immediately we would be redeemed. The whole 2,000 years of the Gullus, since the time of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, would come to an immediate end if all of the Jews all over the world for 2 Shabbos in a week would end up keeping it properly. V'yesh lahavin, have to understand. Lama be'emes lo yaspi gam b'shmir Shabbos achas lo v'yes hagula. How come it's not enough if all of Klal Yisrael throughout the entire world, 16 million Jews in the 4 corners of the world, many of whom are not even religious, don't even know what Shabbos is all about today, you get all of them to keep 1 Shabbos? That would be a miracle. That would be something of colossal achievement for the Jewish people. Why would that not be enough to be able to bring Mashiach and to bring the ultimate Geula, the redemption? Why do you need 2 in a row? V'nira, and it appears sheyesh lahasbir zeh b'ma she'amru Chazal. We can explain it with other words of Chazal. Shekemoshe Shabbos mashpi al shavua haba, just like Shabbos that you keep has an influence on the up and coming week. So the Shabbos that we just finished keeping the other day, it influences the week that we are in right now. Just like the more kedusha that you have, the more bracha that you receive, the more Torah that you learn, the more you connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more time with the family, the more rest that a person gets spiritually, emotionally, and physical. So physically, it gives koyach, it gives a beautiful hashpah, a beautiful influence on the up and coming week. Kamochein, so too, hashavua atzmai mashpi al Shabbos haba acharav. The week that precedes the up and coming Shabbos also has an influence on that week as well. So everything that we're doing since Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Erev Shabbos, the way that we go about our avodas Hashem, that we work on our midos, that we are becoming more kedoshim, we're becoming holier people, that we learn, that we daven, that we treat people in the right way, that we have derech eretz, all the different things, all the mitzvahs that we do, has an influence on the upcoming Shabbos based on where you are holding. By Friday night, when Shabbos comes in, that will determine the direction that the glorious Shabbos that you are celebrating is going to go. That means that all the Shabbosos in the week, in the month, in the year, they're actually all connected as one. Since that Shabbos has a hashpah, has an influence on the week that comes after it, and that week itself has an influence on the Shabbos that comes after it. We see then that this Shabbos, mashpi al Shabbos haba, this Shabbos has an influence on the following Shabbos. So just for example over here, that this past Shabbos Bereishis, which we just celebrated, so it was influenced by the week that came before it, which was a very good week. It was a week of Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, Yom Tiv, and therefore you went into a Shabbos on an elevated state. Now that Shabbos is going to have an influence on all the days of this week, and that itself is going to impact the following Shabbos, Parshas Noach, that we're going to celebrate this week. Al Kenim, if that's the case, Im Yisrael Mishamim Rak Shabbos Achas, if the Jewish people would only guard 1 Shabbos, if we only kept 1 Shabbos, we'll be missing the 6 days of the week as a positive hashpah, as a positive influence from beforehand, because that was lacking because it was lacking the Shabbos that was guarded before it. That's why we need another Shmir Shabbos, another guarding of the Shabbos. So that by the time that you get to the second Shabbos, it's a complete keeping of the Shabbos. That means that this week, let's say again, our example, Shabbos Breishis, we all kept Shabbos. That had a major influence on all the days of this week. And then we keep the next Shabbos, Shabbos Noach, Parshas Noach, we keep that with the power of the previous Shabbos, the influence of this entire week, which was generated by the influence of the Shabbos that came last week. And then it goes into the beautiful Shabbos that's coming up. We need another Shabbos. Shabbos achas, the whole Shabbos has to be b'shleimus complete. So you have 6 days you have to work. On the 7th day you're going to rest. On the 6 days that are coming off the power of the previous Shabbos, you're going to put in all of your efforts, and then it's going to influence the 7th day, which is Shabbos itself. We find Shabbos Rishon Sheshama Yisrael B'Midbar, the first Shabbos that Klal Yisrael kept in the wilderness. There were not 6 previous days connected to a Shabbos. There were so many days of action and activity and everything they did before they eventually kept Shabbos. And we can understand. Therefore, this first Shabbos that Klal Yisrael kept in the Midbar, in the wilderness, after they were redeemed from Egypt, wasn't a complete Shabbos because it didn't have a Shabbos to connect itself to from the week before. And that's why he says, if you look at the spelling of Yom HaShvi, the 7th day of the week, the 7th day, it's missing a yud. It's missing one of the letters that normally is written in that word. Like it's normally written. Because that day of Shabbos in the Midbar, in the wilderness, was not the 7th day that was influenced by the 6 days before, which started with the Shabbos before that. And therefore says Rabbi Posen, this is the pshat in Chazal. One Shabbos that all the Jewish people, it would be a miracle. If you could get 16 million Jews throughout the world, most of them who don't even know what Shabbos is, to keep Shabbos, it would be an ace. It would be a miracle. But it wouldn't do the trick to bring Mashiach, because it would still be lacking the hashpah, the influence of the previous Shabbos in a previous week before. So Be'ez Hashem, we should be zeiche in our learning of the laws of Shabbos together, that we will be mechazik ourselves to make Shabbos more meaningful, and we'll be more dedicated, and perhaps we'll have a hashbah, an influence on the rest of Klal Yisrael, and we'll be zeiche to see all of Klal Yisrael keep 2 Shabbosim in a row, and that will maybe geula Yisrael, that will bring the redemption to the Jewish people. Have a wonderful day.